welcome back, guys. This is the post-match talk for the LTC final, and we're joined again by Checkmate Ben, the champion, the winner of the LTC, the low-tier championships.
Nice grand entrance.
Yeah, woo, champion. And
It was good times.
It was super good times. We're gonna kind of do a season recap. Ben and I we're pretty in tune with each other's seasons. We're in the same division. Ben, of course, being my front office, helped me a few weeks with some of the builds. So we were very aware of how each of the seasons progressed. And we're also going to go over these sets for the finals briefly and talk about them. Yeah. But before we do any of that, I just want to shout out Dean, because in one of my previous videos, I point out that Dean left, that the LTC was now in my hands. That's changed. Dean, thank goodness, came back and has taken the LTC back.
I think he heard the mess that had happened with it, and he thought, oh well, I need to come and rescue the situation.
Yeah,
so he's come back. He's taken away your overlord rules, and he's given you your proper name back.
Yes, and I'm so happy that he came back just in time for the final. I'm glad that we delayed the final, because otherwise we would have played it before he got back. So I'm well happy with that. But yeah, so shout out to Dean for running. For running an awesome season, because genuinely, at the LTC, you disagree with me here, but my draft, I didn't really like my draft at the end of the season. I know you were a fan, but I went off it. But regardless of that, the LTC was absolutely one of my favourite leagues I've ever played in. I loved this season.
This is, without a doubt, the most fun league. Maybe that was because I've just used a bit of a meme team all season.
Yes.
It was ruthlessly difficult when you have a team like mine, but the joy you can have when you've got a lot of experience with lower tier mess of stuff like I have, then even if you have a bad team like I did this year, you can show how effective lots of the stuff there is. Like I picked up Luxray, for example, and it ended up the top of the MVP.
Yeah, which you didn't even bring against me.
I didn't even bring it against. Who needs to?
Well, that's very true. Because that was another thing I was thinking. I was thinking, well, you won't have Macargo and Cradilly and bulky Selgor and bulky Rufflet, because you're gonna need offensive things like Luxray on there too, and you're gonna need Grumpig. So I didn't expect your double rock type to come. I thought Macargo would honestly make way for Cradilly more than likely this time. So you definitely caught me off guard.
Did you want me to run through my team build?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so looking at the team matchup, I immediately saw that even from the last game, you've actually got a really funky Sorg set in Z Rain Downs.
Yes.
And I don't have checks to fighting types. As I mentioned in the battle, I have 3 switch-ins to fighting types, being a Selgor, Kricketune, and Grumpig. Now, none of those are ideal, primarily because Grumpig relies on berries for healing, which get knocked off. Kricketune doesn't have healing, and a Selgor is a Selgor. It has 40 base defense.
Yeah.
So, to actually have a switch, I honestly don't believe that you would tech rock coverage.
No, no way. I when I saw a Selgor at team preview, I was almost certain it was a defensive recover build, because that's what you brought last time, and you and I have built enough together to know that neither of us like very meta sets. So I did think it would be a bulky Selgor, but I thought Spadef, like last time, I thought it was going to be especially bulky Selgor, not a physical fighting check, not at all. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You just have to get creative at times. I haven't brought a Selgor as a fighting check all season.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that was particularly beneficial here, because you couldn't possibly predict it.
Yes.
Well, I guess you could possibly predict it. You wouldn't. It's not something you go around thinking, oh yeah, he's going to bring Fizdef for Selgor.
If I'm predicting it, it's because I know you, not because not because of anything else. That would be the only. Like, I wasn't shocked when I saw it. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's a bulky. But I wasn't like. If I don't know, there are certain people in the community, if I saw them pull it out, I would be stunned. But with you, it's just like, yeah, that's Ben. Yep. Yeah, that's
another thing that happens.
Yeah, because I mean, we ran that Spadef Mega Medicham together before to wall a
that was beautiful.
To wall a Hydreigon of all things. So like, I wasn't that surprised, but at the same time, it was definitely a really creative set. And what I didn't expect was the move slots. Even when I saw the EVs that you were obviously running with, I didn't expect Infestation, Toxic Spikes, Recover, Toxic. Really fun stall set.
The idea of it is, as I say, to switch into Sork, I need to get Toxic. Toxic Spikes are so good against your team.
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
it to wear down the stuff like the Gramble. It's chip on the Licky. It's chip on the stuff like these, the Swallow and predominantly the Sork. And if I get the Sork with an Infestation and it's got poisoned, then it's going to get worn down so unbelievably quickly, especially if it's got a Life Orb. Even if it's choiced into close combat, or even knockoff, because with Sticky Hold I don't lose my leftovers.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very reliable check if you don't have rock coverage. And with Recover, I outspeed your max speed without any investment, which is kind of joyful. I like that.
Yeah.
So I can immediately scout if you're choice scarf or not.
Yeah.
Which makes it, as I say, a very, very good check to Sork.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. So Toxic Spikes were there, as I say, for a support, and it helped the rest of my team because I've got good defense, but I don't have good typing synergy. As you can see, my entire team is weak to fighting near enough.
Yes.
It's my only resist, and technically Rufflet can take 2, but that's by the by.
Yeah, I mean,
by the by.
No one's expecting Rufflet to take 2.
Least of all you. So, yeah, at Subgore, it was a great check for. It was basically there for Sork, and that's near enough it. That and Toxic Spikes. Unfortunately, doesn't get any good coverage for it. Considering I have Macargo, it's there to basically work out what Swallow's doing.
Yes.
It gets up stealth rocks. It burns stuff. It gets Rocky Helmet chip. So very simple, very effective. Flamethrower does a little bit of damage to stuff, and it actually hits stuff in neutral, which is pretty solid.
And you have quite a lot of Spadef.
The Matang, which is pretty key because my team generally can struggle with it if you switch out from knockoffs and stuff.
Yeah. What was the
to actually hit it with any sort of damage?
Which I didn't bring this game, so you would have been fine. But what was the Spadef investment for? I'm curious. Do you remember?
I don't know. It was probably for hidden power and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It was probably Swallow with hidden power. Let me have a look. Cargo.
It may have been that you
against your Swallow, I'd take like 40% from Boom Burst, Ground, HP Ground does. It's a 50% chance to OCO from modest specs.
Maybe unboosted. Maybe a scarf set like I brought last time. Maybe it was to take one from that.
I think it was probably for a Life Orb set.
Probably.
I'll be honest, it was probably just for Life Orb.
Which actually would have been quite a nice solo set, thinking about it. Boom Burst, Hidden Power, Life Orb. That could have been fun.
With Brave Bird as well.
But
if you caught the burn from U-turn, Brave Bird would be guts boosted. I don't have a ghost type.
But as we saw in that game, had I kept rocks up like I wanted to, then I did 2-hit KO the Macargo with Boom Burst anyway, which was the thinking. But then moving on to your Cradilly set, very Spadef set here with a lot of speed.
Yeah,
it's actually a very speedy Cradilly.
Yeah, yes. So the speed is there for essentially licky. It means I outspeed Matang if it doesn't have much investment. As it happens, you actually outsped me by 1 point, but that doesn't matter.
Look at that!
It's not there to take on Matang.
Yeah, that's so funny. My speed investment in Matang, especially with you having a subset, it could have come in clutch. If I'd had to break your through your sub, it could have come in clutch potentially.
Well, you could have just meteor matched, but yeah.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too.
I mean, the thing is with Cradilly, it was designed to wear out all of Sork's close combats.
Mm-hmm.
It just walls spec Swallow. There's no beating around the bush there.
Absolutely.
That's really helpful.
And actually,
it does a fair chunk to. I think it's a 3 occur 1 Sork.
Yes.
And if it's starting to close combat, if I'm behind a substitute, I can protect. I can set up another substitute. By the time it's at -3, a Giga Drone is doing 80% or something.
Yeah.
So it's essentially there. It's a pseudo check to Sork. As it happens, oddly enough.
Well, that's really interesting though, because talking through this team and stuff, you've reminded me. I was so heavily convinced that you would bring some kind of setup Cradilly if you brought Cradilly. That when because obviously the more we talk about this, the more comes back to me. My thinking with Swallow was that if you set up your Cradilly, you wouldn't expect the laser focus tech on Sork and on
well, I
Sceptile.
did not expect it on Sork because I think pretty sure you brought laser focus last time.
Did I? Oh man, I'm getting unoriginal. But I didn't think you'd expect it on Sceptile as much. So I think
didn't expect it on Sceptile.
Yeah, so I think there was a part of me that was like, hey, if he brings Cradilly, I let him get it in, I let him set it up, which is exactly what I went for when you went for the substitute. And then I break it with something else, and then at that point, Swallow becomes really, really good against your team because, as we say, Macargo can't switch in after rocks. However, because you are not an idiot and you don't only think there's one Cradilly set, it completely screwed my game plan. Because you didn't set up with Cradilly, you went for the sub. And this set actually was really, really an intelligent set. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it did. I was really, really heavily debating, do I want Toxic instead of Protect or Earth Power instead of Protect. I actually decided to just roll with the Protect because wasting Sork's attacks was more important to me than just being able to slap Matang for a little bit of damage.
Yeah, and it was...
As it happened, Matang died like turn 2, so it was free. One of its checks was dead.
And it also meant that you had that free Protect on the Sceptile at the end, when otherwise I would have got an Endeavour down to 1%. So it came in pretty nice.
Games in as well. It throws mind games into the mix, because if you think I'm going to go for Protect and want to set up and I Giga Drain or I set up a substitute, then suddenly you're in a fairly rough position by the time you're poisoned from Toxic Spikes or something.
Yeah.
So that's the general idea, is to weaken your team down. It's to soften the team. It's to smash it with Bandit Persimmon, which we're going to see later on.
Yes.
And if essentially just soften it up for the Meat Pound.
Yes, which nicely brings us on to Meat Pound Pangoro here.
Exactly. So
with this with this speed investment, did you outspeed my Swallow that was trying not to be speed grabbed?
But then I don't think I could outspeed Swallow anyway.
That might have been why I did that as well. It might have been to make sure.
I'll just have a.
I don't know. I think I think like a jolly max speed would outspeed my modest Swallow. Because I was.
Not sure it would, you know.
So
it's gonna be close. I go to 349.
You go to 349, and I
go a little bit more than that. I go 350 something.
Yeah,
so
I hit
Jolly max speed.
I hit 349 myself.
I think I need Jolly 228. I think, because I did have that originally, but I decided actually, you know what? I'd rather just be able to hit just that little bit harder.
Yeah.
If he brings max speed Swallow, then so be it.
Yes.
I've got checks in Cradilly and Cargo anyway,
and
so it wasn't.
Yeah,
really the end of the world in that regard.
Because I know that you're a good builder. Obviously, we've built together for a while now. I thought you obviously couldn't speed creep Timid max speed or anything, but I thought you might see me running a very bulky Swallow because all I'd need to outspeed is that Grumpig. So I thought, hey, he might just try and speed creep an aggressive speed creep. So that's why I ran that Swallow set, and it could have come in clutch if I'd somehow played that Endeavour onto the Cradilly in the end game like I wanted. Things could have been very different. Looking back at this game, the more I'm realizing that not getting that heal bell off with Licky Licky really made the difference.
It was pretty important. I mean, I don't think you could have broken Cradilly anyway, because I'd have been able to set up rocks with my Cargo again. So
yeah,
I don't think that the end of the game would have changed.
It would have come into. It would have all depended on what you went into on my Swallow. That last turn where I could have U-turned into an unpoisoned Sceptile, which is what I was thinking. Because at that point you didn't know I had Endeavour. Had you gone into Cradilly on that Sceptile as I U-turned into the Sceptile, and had you decided to stay in on my Sceptile, which you probably wouldn't have done, then I maybe would have got the Endeavour. But as you rightly say, I don't think there was any way I could force you to keep that Cradilly in anyway. So this Scarf Pangoro with Drain Punch, Iron Head knockoff. It's really interesting to me that you decided to run Iron Head on both the Persimmon and the Pangoro. Just not going for that damage output on on the Granbull reading me to run that Kebia Berry was a really nice call.
Well, the thing with Gunk Shot is everyone predicts it coming. Like, I could quite easily run Poisonium Z because it's stronger. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's obviously got that perfect accuracy with the acid downpour.
Yes, exactly.
So, being Choice Scarf, I don't want to be locking myself into something that's then going to miss the second turn.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. I mean, instead of having that 20% chance to miss, I've now got a 30% chance to flinch, which could be crucial. As it happened, it wasn't.
No,
I wasn't doing it for the flinch. It was more
but I understand.
I could hit you without propping Kebia Berry.
Yeah,
which I think you actually opted to run last time as well.
Yeah, it just made the most sense against your team, because the other problem with Babiri Berry is I don't want a Babiri Berry, because if you're a slower Pangoro with a bullet punch set, I don't want my Babiri Berry getting popped by a bullet punch and then not being able to take an Iron Head later on from Persimmon. So from that perspective, it's like, okay, Babiri Berry's not... It could just get wasted. I'd rather go with Kebia and at least guarantee soaking up a big hit if you bring the Gunk Shot. But you make the right call.
Passing shot's just there for momentum, really. It's... If I know I'm pretty sure you're going to switch, like with that Swallow later in the game on you.
Yes.
So I could easily just part off a fasting period.
Yeah.
Continuing on, we have... And as I was saying in the game, Rufflet is essentially my check for Granbull. It's something that switches into it.
Yeah.
I really wanted Toxic, and that's what I had instead of Superpower. But in tests, people were bringing Cryogonal against me.
Right.
And Bravebird doesn't kill. I didn't even realise I was sheer force. I meant to be hustle.
Oh, if you'd missed your Bravebird on my Sorg, that could have been so much better. I wish you had been hustle.
Exactly.
I wish you had.
I wonder if the one in the calc. No, it can't be. I don't believe it. It's sheer force in the calc as well. That's fine.
Oh man, I wish you had been hustle. Had you missed the Bravebird, that could have really helped me out.
That could have really helped you out, you're right. But anyway, we got all the shit.
Yeah.
So it's designed to basically check the Granbull because we don't have good switch-ins. It's simple as that. I highlighted what I think your best brings were.
Yes.
I didn't get all of them right. I thought that either Camrupt or Mudbray would come.
Right.
Particularly because Luxray is a thing and it's claimed a billion kills this season.
Yes, yeah.
I thought you'd actually bring something for it, which you decided not to do.
No, I decided to just try and kill it.
Swallow was highlighted, Cryogonal was highlighted, Sork was highlighted, Matang was highlighted, and Granbull was highlighted.
Yes.
Cryogonal didn't come in the end. I thought you'd bring it for Rapid Spin and or Defog, depending on what you decided to go with. I don't know why you run Defog, but... Yeah,
well, my problem was I just didn't have the room on the team to get everything I needed, you know?
That's the thing. When you're team building for you know what you want to bring. You can't get everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you know what you need, you can think, oh yeah, okay, I can't fit that in. So what I'll do is I'll bring this instead.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
For me, looking at it, Cryogonal cause problems because, I mean, admittedly, stuff like Kecleon walls it, but you can work around stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah.
It carries Freeze Drive for Quagsire. It hits Dramper for super effective, and of course, it does really well against my team. But I guess you kind of might have been put off by the fact that I ran Fully for Death, Selgor last time as well. So that's worth considering.
Yeah, that's very true. And then your last one, Twickenham, the Persimmon, one of your mascots for your draft league teams, with the choice band set, which I found out early in the game from the Bandit Close Combat that this was a very scary choice band set.
So I have 222 speed, which is designed to do something. Oh, outspeeds max speed Metang. No, just kidding. It was, well, I don't really know what the speed was for now. It was for something.
Yeah.
Oh, it was for something after webs.
Right. Which you then didn't bring webs.
Was it something after webs? 328 times by 0. It was if you wanted to run like 328 speed on your Sceptile, then you were stuck in Sticky Web. Because one of my previous builds actually had Sticky Webs on it.
Yes.
And I obviously didn't change it, I just kept it the same.
Well, I'm sure if we'd spent more time building, you probably would have ended up changing that, but...
I would have probably had less speed. I would have probably had less speed and more bulk. But as it happens, it didn't make an awful lot of difference.
You didn't
But
take any hits anyway.
Come in, click close combat, and see what drops.
Yeah,
That was essentially it.
Yeah.
U-turn if I thought you were going to switch into Gramble, but at the end of the day, all I need to do was just slap that thing around a little bit and see what happens. Knock off, if you had leftovers, I can knock that off. Iron Head is actually someone who's going to hit you super effectively, as we saw. It's a huge chunk of damage.
Yeah.
So it's a really straightforward set. It put in so much work in tests. I'm pretty sure when I was testing with Tony, I crit his Gramble twice upon switching because I knew you were going to bring a rest set because that's just so good. You can run rest sleep or even rest heal bell as you did, and both of those were brought against me in tests.
Oh really?
Then I was like, well, you know what, Banded Persimmon. I was like, yeah, okay. Well, I don't actually Sork, but what I do is at -1 defense, I live a close combat from Adamant Sork, and I OHKO you with a close combat. So
that makes sense.
If it came down to it, at -1 defense, I can still beat Sork 1v1.
Yeah. I mean, other than I had the sturdy, but that wasn't necessarily obvious. Sork gets good abilities. With toxic spikes,
that's with true. Rocky helmet, with stealth rocks, it's not going to be too difficult to break the sturdy, from what I was looking at anyway. So it was a backup check to Sork as well, if it really came down to it. But that was the general idea behind the team.
And I think it's very solid. I mean, it was obviously a very solid build. It pulled off a 5-0 victory in the final.